Most people will say, well, you can't do that at 64. You can't go out and put on muscle.
Edward, how did you find carnivore?
Well, I came into it gradually, um, but through different means. I guess really what happened was I started um, moving toward a ketovore way of life about 12 years ago or 11 years ago. I had a catastrophic injury, work-related injury. I fell off a ladder and pretty much snapped my right foot off. I broke both the bones in my lower leg and crushed my ankle. And that required what ended up being 13 surgeries. And so, in the course of recovering from those surgeries, which was really an upheaval of my life, I had to move in with my sister in in Atlanta, which is over an hour away. I live in Athens, Georgia. So she suggested, yeah, you don't have a choice but to move in with us and let us take care of you. Well, and there was a whole long story around that, but what happened was when I began to recover and move back home and started having to get off the opioids, the painkillers, which worked out really well. The painkillers and the cocktail of stuff that they gave me kept me as stress free as I could be so that I could heal properly. But when I got home, I think I was a little bit depressed from just being home alone and sort of not knowing what to do. And I started eating like crazy. There's a place here in town in Athens. If anybody from Athens is watching, they'll instantly know what I'm talking about. There's a place called the Taco Stand, and um, that had been a place I'd been into on and off for the last 40 years that I've lived here in Athens. But I started hitting the taco stand. I mean, just about every day, and getting it's just really what it is. It's just food that you could make at home. There's nothing remarkable about the food itself, but there's something addictive about. There's an allure to being able to go to a place that's just around the corner and just ordering what you want and getting it and not having to worry about it. And so I did that, and I just started just packing on the weight. I mean, I had probably put on some weight from recovering from this injury, but then I just started really putting on weight fast, and I was eating sweets too, and ice cream, and just I think it was a result of going off of opioids and being depressed and eating to try to just sort of put all that off or ignore that. And that honestly though, that's a pattern I've had for my entire life. And you know, we're products of the 70s and 60s and 70s where things changed so drastically at some point when cholesterol got demonized in the mainstream press, and we were lied to by the big food business, and everybody changed. My parents, who were born around the Depression, changed. They changed just like everybody else their age. They started buying all the stuff we were told to buy, margarine, and but that carbohydrates is good for you, and we believed all of that stuff. And I'm a product of that. I'm not blaming anybody but myself. I mean, I think I always had a nagging feeling that when I was eating Cameo cookies and pounding just pounding carbs unremittently, I think I had a voice in the back of my head that said, "Yeah, no, why don't what do you? Oh, just do it." So then I don't know if I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that you have you kind of know even before this community of that you're such a important part of got started, sort of this underground railroad of carnies carnivore, carnies. Um, I think most people probably have a nagging feeling of, yeah, no, don't wait. This feels wrong. Like if you eat steak and then potatoes, I used to get a palpable feeling that things were just kind of locked up. And I had the thought, I mean, as a teenager, I had the thought, well, maybe just the steak. And then I'd go, nah, you got to have the potatoes with the steak. So, so that's been one of the largest um, behavior modifications that I am now at 64 able to draw on is that I know better now, but it's a long road to getting to know better. And so going back to my injury and recovering from my injury, at some point my sister said, "Hey, there's this person I follow, Maria Emmerich, and she has written this book about keto." And I started reading that, and I was like, "Okay, let me give this a try." And so that was 12 years ago. I started in on the keto thing. And my sister and I, both a product of the same environment, we've yo-yoed back and forth all our lives, and we just always are looking for some answer because we're both sort of have the similar thing of, okay, let's bite the bullet and diet, and then I guess at some point that just fades away, and then you sort of fall back. Well, for some reason, keto got me out of the mindset of falling back because it made more scientific nutritional sense in terms of this isn't a diet, this is a way to eat. This is a way to change. This is a way to change and eat every day. It's not a diet that you do temporarily. So that I got that behavior modification started. And then that morphed into as I began to really have success with that and lose weight, um, I started to read up. I just kept getting interested in finding out more about it. So it pulled me into the intermittent fasting arena, and I got into that, the OMAD and then the extended fasting. And so I've done some really long fasts, and I'm still doing I'm really doing sort of a long intermittent fast every day, in addition to what I do with my mostly carnivore diet. I do a long period of time. I'm actually trying to shorten that time now because this past year I've been hitting heavy weights and working out in a way that I've never worked out before. And I've been able to put on a lot of muscle, gain a lot of strength, and I think that's due to carnivore. Uh, but um, I've maintained this long eating window of it tends to go 14, 16, 18, sometimes 20 hours. And so the program I'm on is Rob Goodwin's program. He's the carnivore bodybuilder who I'm sure you've seen. If you haven't seen his channel, he's been interviewed by Bart Kay at least a couple of times, and they've had some good chats, and they're friends. And Rob lives in North Carolina, and just up the road, and he sends for his clients. He'll send out a workout on an app through an app, and I started that in January of this year, and I had to tweak my nutrition because this was such a heavy weight, free weight, and some machines and some body weight stuff. And but it's pretty extensive, and it's a a minimum of 5 days a week going to the gym, and also rucking, which is something I'd never done. But I always had an idea that that was probably something you do, but why would you do that unless you're in the military, or unless you want to run rescue dogs in the Alps or something? Why would you just go out with heavy weight on your back? But I ended up, going out 3 days a week with 75 pounds on my back and walking 40 to 45 minutes. And I feel like I've been able to do that because of moving into the carnivore, more carnivore than anything else. And I think it's given me the basis and the nutrition and the muscle mass to be able to go and do that day after day. And I'm 64. Well, I said that before. I'm 64. Doesn't matter, except that most people will say, "Well, you can't do that at 64. You can't go out and put on muscle." Now all this stuff that I'm blathering about is sort of I feel like you're so inspirational to me. And we're almost diametrically opposite because you seems to me like you found what you were going to do and you started doing it and you have not wavered from it and you've been super disciplined in your full on carnivore, almost lion. I know it's not a full lion diet, but your consistency of what you've done without wavering is that's next level for me. Like that would, if I'm going to go to the next level in carnivore, that's going to be the level. It's going to the Dave Mack level, which is find what you're going to eat that every day. Do not get knocked off of that and tweak it to get it better if you need to. Like I guess you subtracted cheese out of your diet, I guess. So, and you were doing that, you were fine with it, then you subtracted that out and found that you got benefits from that. Well, that's fantastic, and that's my next step. If I and I'm going to have to really do some talking to myself to get in the mindset to be able to do that because I'm easily distracted. But what I'll say about that is I I know now that my distraction, like last night was a distraction. I play music sometimes for parties and things like that. So I did a gig in Atlanta, and we were supposed, it was at a nice little boutique hotel, um, and they had a nice buffet out with good food, and we thought we were going to be included in the food thing. Well, we were, but we didn't really get to eat until after everything was over, and we just sort of hurriedly put together some plates. And looked through the food and realized that even the beef and stuff looked kind of gray, and it wasn't wasn't very appetizing. So I ended up just putting chicken on my plate. I put a bunch of there was some kind of weird barbecued white meat that I put on. And I put a bunch of it on there because I said, boy, I'm hungry, and this white meat doesn't have enough fat in it to satiate me, so I'm just going to eat a big mass of it. Now, that's a big change in behavior modification for me. Like, um, you know, t- before I got involved in all of this, what I would do is just say, okay, give me whatever's available, and I stuff everything in my mouth. The lasagna, all the vegetables, everything. Well, I looked at all of that last night, and I said, no, I'm just going to eat this chicken. Now, what I did that Dave Mack wouldn't do is I grabbed a couple of petit fours that were there, the little pink petit fours that looked delicious, and they were, and I ate those. But see, what's different with me now is that I'm not going to careen into a binge because of those. I know this about myself, and I know that all I have to do is get back on my daily routine of eating eggs and bacon, and sometimes ground beef, sometimes steak. Um, I do a protein drink where I put 6 eggs in it and some element and sometimes some heavy cream. But my day to day, I'm not going to get knocked off of my day to day track, and I'm not going to get put on a craving binge where I'm going to go out and start seeking the little carby things that I used to like to nosh on. So that's how I've that's how I know. Uh, and I think it's because the fat the fat content and the protein content is so satiating that I can I don't fall into the panic like I used to of the food panic. I don't get a food panic. If I'm hungry, I'm just hungry, and I know what to eat, and then I know I'll be satisfied for a long time. So, um, But however, I do think that the next step for me is to at least maybe for 30 days try to just limit myself to just meat, maybe eggs, salt, water, coffee, and see what further benefit I can get. And I think there'll be a lot if I'm able to keep myself in that track. Um, so yeah, that's my preliminary.
So, um, like, what does your if you're looking at a regular day, um, how is the eating going for you? Like, if you're saying, for example, going forward, you want to limit to like just meat and eggs and stuff like that. What does it look like right now?
Cheese. That's what it is. It's that and that. So here's what I mean by that. All I've had today, right before I got on with you, was my whey protein drink that I do because of my workouts. Um, and I put 6 eggs in that, and so I get the whey protein plus the 6 eggs, plus I put some coffee in it, and I'm drinking coffee too now. So coffee's part of my nutrition, and I've got some heavy cream in my coffee. Later on, I'll have some sliced like turkey and ham with some cheese because I have cheese on hand, and I'll have a little cheese with that. And then if I'm still hungry after that, I'll either have some bacon and eggs or I'll have some ground beef. And that's pretty much a normal day. And it's normal to start this late in the day too, and go and not go too late though. Like not I'm like go till try not to go past 7 or 7:30. So I'm eating in a short window of time. So that's that intermittent fasting habit that I've built up. Um, what I was gonna say about the workouts was that I'm using another trainer at the little neighborhood gym I go to, and he suggested to me that I begin my protein cycling earlier in the day and to get more of a benefit out of that since I've been lifting heavy. So I've been pushing myself to eat eggs and bacon at around noon, and then still keep a short window. Just have the short window of time earlier in the day, and this is super. I'm in this way. I guess I am like you that I can eat the same thing every day. I just get easily distracted when I'm away and I'm at my sister's house or whatever, and I can get distracted into just eating whatever's available because I know I'm going to go back on my thing. But at home, day to day, by myself, I don't mind eating like a dog. I can eat the same thing every day, and so wouldn't be a problem for me to break to have to stick with meat, and I know I would be satisfied. I'm not worried about that. It's just I guess I'm I guess I'm lazy because it's so easy to make eggs and bacon. And I think maybe the way I'll be able to do it is to get an air fryer and be able to just throw steak in an air fryer and eat steak a lot because I love steak. I just haven't been eating it that much. So, but I did find some shaved. What I can get here at Publix is this shaved ribeye that looks like what you I've seen your when I've seen you cook meat in the videos. I've seen you cook sort of a almost a shaved meat, and that stuff is great. It almost tastes like ground beef, but it's like a cross between steak and ground beef in the taste, and it goes really well with eggs or just by itself, and it's very satiating. And I put tallow. I cook it with tallow or ghee or whatever, so it's very satiating. But I I feel like I'm not getting enough ruminant meat, probably. So that's my
Mm,
next step, I think.
nice. So over the time you've been doing this, what has improved for you health wise? And also, how's your foot going?
Oh, well, my foot's great. Um, I have limited range of motion, but I have no metal left in my ankle or my leg. Um, and so because of the limited range of motion, I just can't do like if I wanted to get a full squat, like a full squat is where the back the backs of your thighs are touching your calves, and I think I'm limited in my range of motion so that I can't quite get to that point. That's okay. I still it doesn't. If I can go out and run if I wanted to, I can certainly walk. I can walk with 75 pounds on my back. I'm not limited in any way with that. And I was lucky to have a incredible trauma orthopedic surgeon who happens to be my neighbor, and he's just across the street. And we didn't know that when he started treating me. So um, he looks at me every now and then and says, "Hey, you're not limping, are you?" And like he's still looking out, like just if he sees me out on the street, he goes, "Everything all right?" So anyway, it's good. It's in that front. I'm extremely lucky. I was really lucky to have him for a surgeon, and I'm lucky to have the family I have because they took care of me. They made me let them take care of me. So I I couldn't have done it without them. So I'm doing great on that front. And the, with my health, for one thing, okay, I work at a hospital. I'm an X-ray tech, and it's a small acute care hospital that deals with a lot of respiratory patients. And um, I've been there all through. I was there all through the pandemic. In fact, I was at one point I was the one checking people coming in, family members and uh, contractors and anybody that needed to come in from outside. I was the one taking their temperature and signing them in. And then in the early pandemic, I was one of the idiots that was spraying down food bags. Yeah, I was one of those guys. So if you could reach me and slap me, I wouldn't blame you. But I mean, it took a couple of weeks for a while. I went, "What in the hell am I doing? This doesn't make any sense." And then I think they finally came out with, "Yeah, you don't need to. You're not going to catch COVID on surfaces. Stop." So you know, I got over myself. But the point is, I didn't. I didn't get sick. I didn't get the flu, COVID, nothing. Now, what does that do to? Well, I don't know. But and all of this, I don't know. I don't have a scientific answer for anything. Um, about I don't have metrics for myself that I can point to and say this is what my diet has done. But however, I'm going to take it on faith that I'm at least giving myself the best chance to be healthy with the proper human diet. That's all there is to it. Now I think because I can't. Now I listen to all of your interviews for the most part, and a lot the ones lately have been great, and they also are saying they each have things to say that mirror my experience too. Like I'm not bringing anything new. I'm not bringing any new information, but I think what you're doing is there's such a value. I think the value is in hearing all these normal, regular people who come from all over the world sort of chime in with sort of the same thing. There's a value to other people hearing that and saying, "Oh, these are people that don't know each other. They don't have anything to gain. They're not getting paid, but they want to share their experience, and their experience is that they are giving themselves the best possible chance to be healthy by doing this diet." Now, see, another reason why I'm not in it like a incredible story is because I don't have any. Your story's incredible because you have these things that you were dealing with on a day-to-day basis that came from your diet that were results of what you were doing before that you cleared up almost immediately with your change in diet. I'm like a sewage treatment plant or something. I mean, I think I could eat plastic bags and I'd probably be okay for a month or two. Like I don't have any food allergies or immune responses or rashes or skin problems or any of that stuff. Um, but however, I still feel I've what I've done away with is those intense, panicky cravings that I got from having the carb heavy diet, and um, also I feel like I'm able to. I don't feel like there's any upper limit to how strong I can get if I eat this way. And and I feel like it's important to try to be as strong as possible when you are, when you're starting to when you're getting older and things are easily break down. And I see also working in the hospital that I work in. Oh my God. I mean, I don't, it, it's, you know, it's really, uh, incredible to see what people are capable of doing to themselves. And it all comes down to addiction. It's addiction. Uh, it's, we're sort of been, especially in America, I guess, we're under this mass psychosis addiction. We've all been psychotically pushed into an insane way of eating that's normalized through propaganda and marketing. And so many people don't question what it is. And I've been that. I mean, I feel like the carnivore community is sort of a microcosm for the other sort of the awakening that some people are going through now in the world, where we're sort of, people are waking up in different areas and saying, why are we being pushed toward this, or why are we being told this when it's not any even close to true? What's really behind that? And people are, this community through nutrition and other communities and through the world situation are pushing for answers to why are we being lied to. And that's another value that you're providing with this podcast is we come on, all these people who don't know each other come on and say, yeah, I saw it. Did you see it? Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, it really does feel like certainly in the last few years that we're almost forced into a position where it's just continue to accept everything you're told, or start looking at this more critically.
Yeah.
And certainly people in the carnival community are probably in the more critical the critical side.
Well, yeah, there's a theme, there's a thread that runs through the community that seems to be, we just want the truth. Just want the truth. What's true? What is true? What works? And so, and you are such an even keeled person. You don't strike me as being um, any sort of extreme person in any way. And when you do analyses of you've done a couple of your shows have dealt with analyzing what some of the other people are saying or what studies are saying. And you and I are not we're not research scientists. But you've taken it upon yourself to go look and say, okay, this doesn't. Why is this like this? Why? And you're not coming at it with an extreme position, and you haven't joined, even though you're a carnivore, you haven't joined a team and bought uh, a dogma. You haven't bought into a dogma. That's not what we're doing. We're not buying into a dogma because we all have a different approach. You know, and we all have different things. Like my Rob Goodwin, who's the trainer that I use, has been sort of aggressive lately with saying, "Look, I use carbs in my training because I train really hard, and carbs help me in my bodybuilding training. I'm 90% carnivore, but carbs help me. And if it helps you, good. If you don't want to use them, good. Don't come after me with your dogma." And I think that's good to hear too, because I mean, he's friends with Bart K. Bart K tends to say, well, no, no, no vegetables ever. And, so, never. Tid. So, I mean, I love that. Like I don't get the feeling that I'm on team carnivore. I get the feeling that I'm watching a bunch of people who just want the truth.
Yeah, very well said. Um, yeah, I feel like when your eyes are open to the fact that it just doesn't make what we've been told, what we've been fed for, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, when you actually open your eyes and go, hang on a second, it just doesn't make sense that, you know, for example, LDL is going to be detrimental to our health on its own.
Uh, uh, well, I'm glad you said that because cholesterol is funny. I find myself telling people lately, you know, cholesterol is not poison. You know that, right? Oh, wait, maybe you don't know that. I can tell by your reaction. You you really do think cholesterol is poison. Why is our body producing cholesterol? Why do every part of our body need cholesterol to function properly? Why is every cell in our body made of a phospholipid bilayer? Lipid is in the title. A phospholipid bilayer. That's how every cell in our body regulates the potassium and sodium that go in and out of the cellular fluid. And fat and cholesterol are literally the things that little porous wall of the cell is built from. So, um, I what are we doing? You know, I had the woman that owns the gym I go to in my neighborhood. I love her, and I told her, I said, yeah, I'm mostly carnivore. I'm trying to get better at it, but I'm mostly carnivore. And she smirked. She actually smirked, and she said, I'd like to see your blood work. And I always thought the look on her face was like, I bet your blood work's bad, and that's going to make me feel better. And I kind of pointed that out to her, but my cholesterol ended up being 296, and my HDL to triglyceride ratio is 1 or just under 1. And you're not in the danger zone until you're around at the 2 ratio. And so there was nothing in my blood work that I'm worried about at all. My A1C was 5.6, and I thought, I wasn't expecting it to be that high. And then I literally saw Dr. Barry talking about how you can be around a 6 and be before he and Bart K, I think, talking about you can be at a 6 before you should even think about worrying about that. But like you say, the cholesterol thing, I remember when fried eggs made it on the cover of Time magazine in the 60s. I was a kid and I was going, eggs are bad? I love eggs. And like, it seemed like we all just went, oh, yeah, now is air bad now? And air was bad actually. Smog. I mean, it was bad. Air was bad. So, yeah, we've lived in this Malthusian uh, culture of fear for all these decades, and you start to pull apart the threads and find out that what's behind it. The Kellogg people behind and Ansel Keys and the 7 country study and the food pyramid based on that faulty information, and you just start you begin to literally question everything, and it's not. Um, I don't want to sound like a doomsayer. I'm not. I feel like it's an awakening. If you think of it as an awakening, then it feels positive.
Definitely. And I share the experience with talking to people about how I feel the best I've ever felt in my life, and the person looking at you very skeptically and going, "Yeah, but what about your blood work?" And it's almost every you made me think of a particular vegan influencer on YouTube when you when you mentioned that, because whenever he is reacting to a carnivore's channel, he's that's all he can say is, yeah, they're saying they're feeling good, but look at their blood work. And, you know,
Yeah,
it,
because our cholesterol levels are higher than the AHA says are healthy. Well, the AHA is on the take. AHA is being paid to their lower their bar for healthy cholesterol so that doctors can prescribe statins. I mean, I don't. I hope I'm not saying anything that. I hope I'm not going too far into the political because I know you don't delve into that. But I mean, I don't even think of that as political. I just think of it as this is what we're dealing with. This is what we are all being told when we go to the doctor. Is that, oh well, we're looking at your cholesterol to put you on a stat. That's the reason we're looking at your cholesterol, and the AHA says that you're pushing the limit, but the AHA keeps moving that number down. They keep moving it down just arbitrarily.
yeah, and no, I certainly don't see something like that as political. I mean, it's like it's staring us in the face. So yeah, it's not political at all.
Right. I agree. Um, so uh, can I ask you can I ask you about Bell Shine?
Sure.
No, here's what I want to know. Do you or when you develop okay, so Bell Shine, is she um of your imagination, or is she like a composite of people that you've talked to, or is she just something to like that you can sort of voice the absurd without as a character without having to just be critical of people?
So, maybe all of the above. So it kind of started. I had maybe 3 or 4 videos on my channel, and one of them had done quite well, and I got quite a lot of subscribers from one video I'd put out. And the next video I put out was about, the kind of the dumb stuff that non-carnivore people ask you. And I had the kind of questions they would ask, and what, just a kind of sarcastic response to those questions. And someone commented on that video and said, I love the snarkiness of your responses. And I thought, well, I can do one better than this. You know, and so I just went, okay, well, to be more snarky, I could just come on and pretend to be a vegan and say really dumb things. And so it's not based on anyone in particular. And I realized that Bellshine is much dumber than probably all vegans, but it's just it's I don't what would you call it, farce or something. It's just it's just extreme farce, and I lose subscribers every time I put out a Bellshine video, because some people that may have subscribed to me a week ago suddenly see me wearing a blue wig and think, oh no, he's he, he's woke in some way, or he's and so but I enjoy doing it, and I enjoy writing what she's going to say because it makes me laugh as I'm writing it, and I always feel like when I'm writing something and I giggle at it when I'm writing it, because it's hard to laugh at this stuff you write yourself. If I laugh, then probably someone else is going to laugh.
Well, your
Mm.
outtakes cracking yourself up are great too. That's very entertaining.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Well, and I enjoyed your little. You did a little 5 minute video about your response you get when you tell people in Japan that you're carnivore, and they say, "Oh, well, I couldn't do that. I'm Japanese." And I want to say that I mean, I feel like I should have a T-shirt that says, "Oh, I can't be healthy. I'm an American." I mean, it's sort of the same thing.
Yeah.
That's the kind of
Yeah.
response we get here. That's the kind of pushback you get when you just try to talk to people. What were the weird little food? nightmare foods that you loved that you had to that you ate growing up in Australia? Like what do you remember that like we would have not even ever have heard of?
Ah, look, I mean, it's almost the same kind of junk, really. But for me, um, I was always I was always into bread. Like I guess in the States, the kind of standard bread would be like Wonder White. Is it Wonder White?
Wonder Bread.
Wonder Bread.
Yep.
So, it was that kind of stuff. Like I would I just it made me feel like I'm eating something that I enjoy, and it's kind of healthy. And growing up, and but I remember I loved soup. My mum used to make soup all the time, like a vegetable soup, pumpkin soup, all this kind of thing. And I love that kind of hearty soup that she would make. But I would eat half a loaf of bread with that soup, like dip the bread in or whatever. And I remember whenever I ate soup, I would always, at the end of it, feel, why do I feel so bloated and sick?
Yep.
And it's like, this soup, what's wrong with the soup? What's mum putting in this? And it wasn't the soup, it was the half loaf of bread I'd eaten with it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. That's
Mm.
right. Well, well, see, I just I hate the fact that my parents were grew up eating pretty much whole food, and that it changed, and we all just went along with it, and you know, uh, I guess it's like being an alcoholic. I still have to, even that's why carnivore has put me in a set me up to be able to understand it all. And once you understand it and you have an understanding of the proper human diet, then you are able to walk away from the other stuff. I haven't walked into or been in a fast food restaurant. I don't go into fast food restaurants at all. I mean, zero. That's one thing I think is one of the biggest takeaways from this kind of change is anybody who's thinking about this or wondering what this is, the first the first real step is walking away, knowing what to not do, knowing what to cut out, walking away from the stuff that you know is just frankenfood, because there's no upside in any, no matter what your lifestyle you're pursuing or what diet you're pursuing or what you're trying to accomplish. No, there's no answer. There's no that's not never the right answer. The brightly colored packages with paragraph of chemicals in the under the ingredients. I mean, there's no justification for that. So if you just cut that out to begin with, no matter what else you're eating, cut out the cut out the stuff that you know was made in a lab and move to whole food, and then refine down from there and find what you can do. But keeping away from the bad stuff is the first step. That's just cut that out. Just cut it out. You can That's why all these weird diets seem to work at first. Is because usually when you go on any kind of diet, you go to Weight Watchers or you go on a, all cantaloupe diet, you you're walking away, you're cutting out all the crap you were eating. And so you have a short-term benefit from that. Well, my feeling is the only way to keep that a long-term benefit is to do proper human diet, which is, ketovore, carnivore. And ketovore to carnivore seems like such a progression that a lot of the people that you interview and that talk in the carnivore community seem like they found their way doing that progression. It just sort of was a natural progression. And that's the way I feel about me. That's how I have developed, and I'm going to try to keep developing.
Going forward, this is it, right?
This is it. and
Mm.
and I can only get better. I can only get better at it. I have, I'm a sinner who needs to prostrate myself on the altar of being more disciplined, and taking your taking the Dave Mack way as an inspiration to refine down and really lose the last bit of extra body weight that I would like to lose. And but I feel for the most part great. I have a hernia that I have to get repaired, and I'm going through this thing where I'm trying to get insurance to cover it, and I've got to get a robotic operation. But you know, I got the hernia from the heavy lifting, but I already had it was already there. So there was already probably a tear in my abdominal wall. So then when I was doing this heavy lifting this year, at some point late in the year, it all of a sudden just split more. And so now it's at a point where it needs to be repaired. Um, so my feeling is that this is now is the time to double down on refining my carnivore. And I'll if I do that, if I'm able to put together like 30 days of straight of just doing the same thing, I'll let you know how that goes, because I feel great, and I feel strong, healthy. After working out all year, I've spent a week in Paris for a wedding, and I felt like, I mean, at the airport, I was running up and down the steps next to the escalator with luggage, not even winded, and I wasn't even winded, and I had the hernia, and I don't think I could have gotten that strong and that in good of a shape without. I'm not doing a ton of cardio. I'm just doing that rucking thing, but I'm doing heavy weights, and that carnivore is what has allowed me to almost double my strength capacity, and also feel like I can go up steps, and with heavy weight, and not even break a sweat or get out of breath. So the only thing that can change with me refining my carnivore ways is to get better. That's the only way I can see.
Nice. And Edward, do you have any Instagram or YouTube yourself that people can
No,
reach out to you on?
no, I mean, I have an Instagram. I don't even know what my Instagram sign on is, but I just have it to look at my family members'
No.
stuff. I never post on Instagram. I just have a Facebook page that's my name, Edward Hunter.